Hi everybody and welcome to the OneClass channel. My name is Shenaeze and I'm a second year student at McMaster University. I'm currently in the life science program and I want to minor in environmental science. Today we're just going to be going over some commonly asked mathematics and algebra questions of the high school and college level. If you guys need any tutoring or homework help, please feel free to check the links in the description below, and let's get started. To live stream. So, our first question is, what does ABC stand for in standard form of AX plus BY is equals to C? So, our first question asks, what does ABC standard AX plus BY is equals to C. So I'm just going to be highlighting some of the important things that they ask us. And so the A, as you can see, is being multiplied by a variable. So X and Y in this scenario are considered a variable. And we also know that this AX plus BY is equals to C is a linear or a order 1 function or equation. We can see that because it looks like a linear equation, which, if you guys don't know, the equation of line is y is equals to mx plus b. It looks quite like that, and it's also an order 1. So A is being multiplied by x, and x is a variable. So anything that is being multiplied by a variable in front of it or behind it is called a coefficient. So in this case, A is a coefficient. If we move on to BY, B is acting the same way. B is being multiplied by y, and y over here we all know is a variable. So B again is a coefficient. C in this case is not being multiplied by anything, it's on its own. C, for the most part, is called a constant because it's not being multiplied by anything and it's of one value. The reason why A and B are not constant are because they're not constant. Whenever x changes, the outcome, the value of the whole thing changes. So it's not just one constant number. Like AX is equals to 1 might be true, but it's not always like that. If x changes, then the value changes as well. However, with C, nothing is being multiplied. So if, for example, C is 1, C will always remain 1, which is why C is a constant. Yeah. So that was just our first question. Our next question is, what is the simplified form of the complex number 3 minus 2i over 1 plus 4i? So, I'm just going to write down the question. I over 1 plus 4i. So the first thing that we're going to do is multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. So the conjugate is almost the same, but in signs it's flipped. So of the denominator. So in this case, our denominator is 1 plus 4i. So we're going to flip it. So 1 minus 4i. So we're going to multiply it by its conjugate times 1 over 4i over 1 minus 4i. Then we're going to perform a FOIL, which is first term, then outer term, and then inner term, and last term. That's what FOIL stands for. First term, outer term, inner term, and last term. Once we multiply this equation in, we are left with 3 minus 12i minus 2i plus 8i squared over 1 minus 4i plus 4i, which will eventually cancel out, minus 116i squared. So, down. Now, combine like terms, so we can combine negative 12i and negative 2i, and we can also cancel this out because negative 4i plus 4i cancel each other out. So then we're left with 3 minus 114i plus 8i squared over 1 minus 116i squared. So in complex numbers, I squared is equal to negative 1. So we can input that into our I. So 3 minus 114 negative 1 plus 8 negative 1 squared over 1 minus 116 negative 1 squared. So here, and then we are left with 3 minus 114i minus 8 over, over 1 plus 116, because negative 1 squared would be positive 1. So our answer would be negative 5 minus 114i over 17, which can then be also written as negative 5 over 117 and negative 114i over 117. And this would be our final answer. How do you plot the points 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4, 5 on a graph? So 3. How do you plot the 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4, 5 on the graph. So our graph looks kind of like this. This is our y-axis, this is our x-axis. Our first coordinate, the 2, is our x. Coordinates are always given in the format x, y. For those of you who don't know, here we go. It's given in the form x, y. So that is our y, and this is our x. Make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 5. So our x coordinate, our origin is 0, 0, which is over here. So when our x is 0 and when our y is 0. Our x coordinate is how far it is horizontally from the origin. So from 0, 0, how far. And our y coordinate tells us how far it is from the origin vertically. So 2, if we're given 2, we look at the x-axis over here and we find 2. And then we look at the y-coordinate, which says 3. So we go all the way up till where the y-axis says 3, and we plot our point right over there. Move on to the next term, which is 3 and 4. So 3 on the x-axis, 4 on the y-axis. It's about here. And our last term is 4 and 5. So over here, we look at x, 4, y, 5. It's a bit higher. Right over there. And if you want, you can draw a straight line through that. But that is how you plot those specific points. They didn't tell you to plot the line, so I'm just going to get rid of the line. But yeah. How do you write x to the power 1 over 2 in radical form? So, question 4, how to write x to the power 1 over 2 in radical form? So, when we are given x to the power of b over a, that basically just means x to the power of b over a. Square rooted by a, or rooted by a. So, over here we're given x to the power 1 over 2, which means x is raised to the power of 1 and is being square rooted, basically. We can simplify this by just writing x cubed, x squared, square root of x, because the 1 raised to the exponent is itself. So it's fine. Is our final answer. how do you simplify 5 minus 2x squared? So question 5, I believe, is how do you simplify 5 minus 2x squared? So when we look at this our equation or question is given to us in condensed form. We have to make turn this into expanded form so we can use FOIL and solve. So 5 minus 2x times 5 minus 2x. We're going to be using FOIL, which basically stands for first term, outer term, inner term, and last term. So in this example, 5 minus 2x times 5 minus 2x. 5 times 5 is 25. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times negative 2x is negative 10x. Negative 2x times 5 is negative 10x, and negative 2x times negative 2x is positive 4x squared. Next, what we can do is collect the like terms, so just these, and add them up. 4x, I like to put it in the correct order, so 4x squared minus 20x plus 25. And that is our final answer. Yeah. The next question is asking us to find the product of x minus 2 times x minus 2. Question 6, I believe. Yep. So, how to find the product of those two. So again, we're going to be using the FOIL method. FOIL. First term, outer term, inner term, and last term. So x minus 2 times x minus 2 is equals to x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. We're going to add up the like terms, so just these, and the answer is going to be x squared minus 4x plus 4. That is our final answer. Question 7 is asking us to expand x plus h cubed. So this is a little different because it's not squared. It is to the power of 3. So what we're going to do is use the FOIL method twice. So I'm just going to write the FOIL method again. X plus h times x plus h times x plus h. A lot of the students forget about like the last x plus h, and that's where they lose out marks. So please make sure that you multiply each and every term and get the final answer. Yeah. So x times x is x squared. X times h is xh. H times x is xh. Well, it's hx, but that really doesn't matter because their variables are being multiplied together, so it doesn't matter which one's first or second, as long as you just write down the correct one. And h times h is h squared. Again, don't forget times x plus h, because some people just forget to bring this part down, and that's where they go wrong. So now we're going to do the same thing again. X squared plus x. So x squared times x is x cubed, and then we're just going to do that with all of the terms. So x plus x squared times h is x squared h. xh times x is x squared h. xh times h is x h squared. We could have simplified added together the xh plus xh. It really doesn't matter if you do it or not. It might be easier, obviously, to multiply the terms, but it really doesn't matter that much. Okay, so again, xh times x is x squared h, plus xh times h is xh squared, plus the last term, so h squared times x is h squared x, plus h squared times h is h cubed. So those are all of our final ones. The next thing that I would love to do is add together all the like terms so I don't forget any of them out, because a lot of students, this is like the second place where they go wrong, is they forget to add all the terms. So first I'm just going to highlight all the x squared h's that I can find. Squared h. Yep, those are all of them. Then with a different color, I'll highlight the next set of terms, so x h squared. And then the ones that are just there by themselves. And finally, just write it all down, kind of like summarize them. So x cubed plus 3x squared h plus 3xh squared plus h cubed. That is our final answer for this question. Our next question is, what is the absolute value of -7? So, absolute value is asking basically just the magnitude of the number or value that you're provided with. So question 8 is the absolute values. -7. So, if you guys don't know what it is, so absolute is basically these symbols. So whenever you see like a number that's like that, or 7, or like 3, that means the magnitude of the value is 3, or the absolute value is 3. So it's regardless of the sign, whether it's positive or negative, it's always a positive. You just remove the sign basically in front of the number. So in this situation, our plus minus x is equals to x. It's the formula we're going to be using. So the absolute value of x, put it in, for -7 is that, and once again we just remove the sign, as the value is 7. Value of -7 is 7. And that is our final answer. Our next question asks us, how do you solve it's the 8th question. So it asks us, how do you solve (2x squared plus x plus 2x is equals to 60? squared plus 2x is equals to 60. What we can do is bring the 60 over to the other side by minusing 60. So if we minus 60 on one side, we have to minus 60 on the other side. So 2x squared plus 2x minus 60 is equal to 60 minus 60. So the 60 is going to get canceled out, and that is going to leave us with a 0. So 2x squared plus 2x minus 60 is equals to 0. We can then put this looks a lot like a quadratic equation. Again, the standard form of a quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. And this looks a lot like this. So we can just assume that it's quadratic, and also because it's order 2. So we can put this in the quadratic equation, which is negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So put in our values over here. So our 2 would be our a value. B would be 2 and C would be negative 60. So we can put that into our equation. So x is equals to negative, our b value is 2 plus minus the square root of b squared, which is going to be 4 minus 4. A is 2 and C is negative 60 over 2a, and a again is 2, so it would be 4. Negative 2 plus minus, pull out my calculator for this, 60 times 2 times 4 is 480, and the negative will cancel out, become positive, so it's going to be 484 over 4. This will lead to 2. This would lead to 2 values, so one would be negative 2 plus square root of 484 over 4, and negative 2 minus square root of 484 over 4. So again, put in the calculator. Is 22. So our first one would be negative 2 plus 22 over 4. And our second one, which is equals to 5, so 20 over 4, which is equals to 5. And our second one is going to be negative 2, negative 22 over 4, which is going to be negative 24 over 4, which will then end up being negative 6. So our 2 values for x is negative 6 and 5. And that is how you solve for it. And that will be our final answer. We can also just use factoring. Our next question asks us, what is the domain and range of y is equals to x cubed? So, domain is any possible values of x that works for a function, and range is all the possible y values that come from those given x values. So in this equation, and basically domain range is another way of asking for if there are any restrictions on the function, meaning is there any point in the function where the graph doesn't hit that coordinate or go there. So y is equals to x to the power of 3 or y is equals to x cubed is a polynomial equation, and there is a set rule that all polynomial functions and equations don't have a restriction on them. So since they don't have any restrictions on them, that means that we can consider every and any possibility for x, which is another way of saying that the domain is from negative infinity to positive infinity. And since it is a polynomial function, again, it doesn't have any range, it doesn't have any, it doesn't have any restrictions, it doesn't have any value in the y-axis or any value for y that isn't true or isn't going to be there. So again, our range is from negative infinity to positive infinity, because it can literally be anything. It could be 1,000,000, it could be 1,000,000,000,000, it could be like 3, it could be 0, it could be literally any number. Next question is, if the area of a square is 225 centimeters, so if the area of a square is 225 centimeters squared, what is the perimeter? What is the perimeter? So we have to understand what they've already given us and what they're asking. So they have given us the area of a square. Again, I just like to highlight everything that is important in the question that could possibly give me some clues to the answer. So we know that the area of a square is the side length raised to the power 2, or the side length squared. We know that. We also know that the perimeter of a square is 4s, so 4 of the side lengths of a square. I'm gonna draw a square just so it would be a lot simpler. Let me explain. So area, we all know, is that multiplied by this. So basically s squared. However, the perimeter of a square, that's not a square, is all four of the sides added up. So from here all of this. So 4s is equals to the perimeter. Now we can use that. So we know that we know our ratio. So we know that 225, which is the area, is equals to s squared. What we also know is for our second equation, s is common in both the equations, so we can relate to it. So now we just have to simplify and find s. So we can do that by square rooting both sides to get rid of the square. If we do that, we get 15 is equals to s. That is one thing that we get. Now we can insert this s into our equation for perimeter. So perimeter is equals to 4s, and we know that the s is 15. So the perimeter is 60 centimeters. Don't forget the units. A lot of the students forget units. And some teachers might be picky about that, so just watch out for that. This question asks us for the square root of 2. We can't mentally do that, but so we're going to use our calculator. It literally just asks us the square root of 2. You can plug that in to your calculator and you're going to get about 1.41. I just stop at 3 decimal places. But I think every teacher has their own preference. If you're doing this kind of question at school or in a test, it's always better to ask to what decimal place if it's not already highlighted in the question. But that is our final answer. What is an acute angle? So that's the next question. 12. What is angle? So this has to do with trig, obviously. There are 3 types of angles. So the first one is acute angle, which is the thing that they asked us. The second one is called a right triangle or right angle triangle. And third is called an obtuse triangle. They all range different things. An acute angle is anything that is from 0 degrees to 90 degrees, but it does not include 0 or 9, which is why they're on brackets. the right angle is exactly at 90 degrees. So if you're given an angle which is exactly 90 degrees, you know that that's a right angle. And obtuse is from 90 to 180 degrees. Just kind of remember that. And I will draw what each of them looks like. So an acute angle degrees, 0 degrees. So an acute angle can be anywhere. It could be 45 degrees. It could be 60 degrees. As long as it's less than 90 and more than 0 degrees, you're good. A right angle is exactly at 90 degrees. So that would be this right there. And usually they have a little box over here that basically just says that they're a right angle triangle. And lastly we have the obtuse angle. So that one, degrees, 0 degrees, 180 degrees, is anywhere more than 90 but less than 180. So it could be like 100 degrees, 150 degrees, pretty much anything. But and those are all the questions that we have for today. This was Shenaeze from OneClass. If you guys have more questions or want help tutoring, feel free to check the link in the description below. And if you like this video, please make sure to like it and subscribe to our channel for updates on more videos. This was Shenaeze.